Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
I'm a headliner.
What is up, Headliner Nation? Chris Chow's back again for the Fantasy Headliners. We got a good show today because this is the question marks we need to know, and this is one of the teams in the NFL that is going to be struggling for answers because what do we do now? You lost yourself the GOAT, and I mean, that's the wrong GOAT. This GOAT. You lost this GOAT, and now what do you do with this team? It's going to be very difficult for them to maneuver. They got cap problems. They got free agents to covet. It's going to be a very difficult situation, but let's dive in and waste no time and dive in to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason workbook. So when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we all know with Tom Brady, they are the top, if not one of the top teams in the entire NFL. This season was no different. They go 13-4, first in the NFC South, and it was another very good season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Injuries did play a key role in this team this entire season on both sides of the ball. They suffered high-end injuries to a lot of top commodities on their club, man. They did lose in that division round to the LA Rams, 30-27. That was their end of the season. And then Tom Brady obviously retired from football, announced it on social media. But I mean, this team overall was just loaded, and everybody wanted to come back and play one more year with Tom Brady to see if they could have one more kick at the can and win that Super Bowl. Their offensive statistics are just phenomenal. Second, first, points, yards, pass yards, just fabulous statistical achievement overall. Rush yards, we knew this was not a running football team. This was all on the arm of Tom Brady. The defense, on the other hand, they were very good as well on most aspects except for pass defense, but they did have a lot of injuries to key players on the defensive side of the ball for a lot of the season as well, and they still were able to overcome. 47 defensive sacks is nothing to sneeze at, man. That's fabulous work. 17 defensive interceptions, so even though they did give up a lot of big plays, they were very opportunistic and were able to generate turnovers. Like I said, man, injuries did preclude them from moving on, and I mean, they did lose to the LA Rams. When it comes to the top players of this season, we know Tommy Touchdown, man. This is the unbelievable stat. He had a career high in passing yards this season. Unbelievable in all of his years. 44-year-old Tom Brady throws for 5,316 yards, 43 TDs. Just a baller of a season. So, did his play drop off? No. He could play for another 5 years, it looks like, the way he was going, man. I mean, AB did leave this team. That was the big storyline. He took off all his gear and started running through the end zone versus the New York Jets. His 7 games. He also dealt with injuries. He played 7 games. He did decent for these Buccaneers. He was an X factor early on in the season, and then everything started to fall apart. Leonard Fournette, Uncle Lenny, was your top running back. 812 yards, 8 receptions, and of course they got back to what I was saying the season before. Get him used in the pass game like we saw in Jacksonville. They definitely did that this year. 69 receptions, man. He was just a big-time check-down option for Mr. Tom Brady. Chris Godwin was your leading wide receiver. 98 receptions, 1103, and 5 touchdowns. He unfortunately went down with that ACL injury, like we all know, on a free agent year of all things. You got to feel sorry for him because he had money coming his way this offseason. Mike Evans, he followed another 1,000-yard season up. I believe that's like 8 in a row for Mr. Mike Evans, which is absolutely phenomenal. 74, 10, 35, and 14 touchdown receptions from Tom Brady. He was the red zone killer. Rob Gronkowski, man, 55 for 802 and 6 touchdowns, rounds out the rest of this offense for the Buccaneers this season, and they were just dominant. Like we said, second in points, second in yards, and first in passing yards. They were just unstoppable and lights out in majority of the contests that they played, with exception of a few. When it comes to the off-season work that they got to do, I feel sorry for the Tampa Bay Bucs GM and front office staff because they got their work cut out for them. No question about that. The $6.8 million free in cap space, that is not bad as we sit today, okay? But you got a lot of top-end free agents that came back for Tom Brady at hometown discounts to see if they could move to win another Super Bowl. First is Chris Godwin, like I said, 25 years of age, but on the ACL. His market value before the ACL would have been around $17 to $18 million. This is going to be very interesting to see where he goes. Will a team take a shot on him and basically have a washed year, because he likely won't come back from the ACL until maybe December-ish, and that's still going early. I believe that's only 9-10 months recovery. That's going to be a tricky one. Jason Pierre-Paul, 33 years old, and I mean, he's going to covet somewhere around the $10 million mark. Will he return to Tampa Bay? I want to say it's highly unlikely. I think he's going to try to open market, get one last bag before he goes off into retirement as well. Ryan Jensen, the center, $9 to $10 million. You can see where the dollar figures are starting to add up for these Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. And now without Tom Brady, okay, is there going to be much emphasis to keep this offensive line together or start to build on the youth movement? It totally depends on who's going to be the quarterback here in Tampa Bay. But I mean, with Ryan Jensen on the free agent market at 30 years old, he definitely is a priority as well. Just don't know if they're going to be able to afford his services. Ndamukong Suh, man, he is getting up there in age, 35 years old, but he should command anywhere from $5 to $8 million bucks, depending on what team he goes to. He will likely go to another club that has Super Bowl viability written all over it, okay? And that's what you got to see. He's at the point now of his career where he's just going to go in for Super Bowls and maybe take less dollars in that respect. Rob Gronkowski, also a free agent, $7.5 to $8.5 million. He will likely go to another club that is on Super Bowl relevance also. So don't get that twisted. 32 years old, he came back from retirement and still showed that he could play this game at a very high level. William Golson, man, 30 years old, $5 to $6 million. His sack production did not come to fruition like we would have thought this season, but he's still decently mobile enough to get to the quarterback, and at $5-6 million market value per season, I don't hate that. He could definitely help some club out. Uncle Lenny and Ronald Jones, both on the free agent market. Uncle Lenny definitely proved that he could still play in this game. He does look like he's aged. The burst isn't there anymore, and I mean, but he's still great in the pass game. So for me, if you're looking for a club who is very dynamic in the pass game, aka Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, you could get an Uncle Lenny on a decent deal with about $5.5 million. Ronald Jones, same. He's only 24 years old. I would expect him to come back to Tampa Bay. I really would. At $2.5 to $3.5 million to be the lead guy in Tampa Bay, I think this is a great match for him again, and then he can again try to prove his services are welcomed in Tampa Bay. Carlton Davis, 25 years old. He's had an up and down career. I've been a Davis supporter. I think he's better than advertised, but the injuries again, the sometimes the lackluster play does get around, and I mean, for him, we know why the number for defensive backs jumps through the roof, and he's going to be around $15 to $18 million simply because your top positions in the NFL now are quarterback, defensive end, and defensive back, because you got to stop the pass game. So that's why all the defensive back numbers do get inflated on the open market. Guard Alex Kappa, man, $9 to $11 million. Another top offensive lineman, only 27 years old. So again, they got a lot of issues to deal with on both lines, man, for a defensive line and the offensive line. Will they be able to re-sign them all? It's very hard to say. Jordan Whitehead rounds it out, 24 years old. He's going to be coveting around $6.5 to $7.5 million, man. Like I said, the GOAT Tom Brady, he does retire from football, and I mean, you'll see on the next, when we discuss where they can save money, why this is important right now. Giovanni Bernard, he is a free agent, $1.5 to $2.5 market value at this point, and we'll see. He likely will go to another club. Same with O.J. Howard. I'd be shocked if they brought O.J. back. They just simply don't use him there. I think it's time for a fresh start. 27 years old, $2.5 to $4 million on the market value. I could definitely see, but I mean, we got to see. There's a lot of players that came back for Tom Brady. Will they come back on a team where their future is completely uncertain, based especially at the quarterback position? We will see. When it comes to where they can maneuver, man, Tampa Bay, okay, cap cuts and restructures. We always got to talk about this because this is very important. With $6.87 million in free space, you got a lot of priority free agents you would like to bring back, but it may not happen. But you got to find money on the books. Why do I have Tom Brady here still on the books? Because officially he still isn't, or he still is on the books, I should say, at $20.2 million. You got to say this money's all going to come off. But right now, it's 12.2 saved, 8 in the dead. If he is the retiree, I'm positive that he's got to repay that bonus money. So it should be $20 million coming back in the Buccaneers' pocket at this point. Mike Evans, he is not a release candidate, but definitely a candidate for restructure because his cap hit is massive. Right now, $14 million million could be saved with 6.6 going to dead if traded or released. He will not get released, but I still got to highlight it that way. Same with Ali Marpet. He will not get released on this team based on the fact that they got the other two in Kappa and Jensen to re-sign. They got to keep some offensive line in Tampa Bay, so Ali Marpet is prime for a contract restructure as well. If he was cut today, $10.7 million saved with only $2.7 million in dead, so you can see you can push some of this cap hit to bonus money, and you will make some more room on the books, I should say. Tight end Cameron Brate. Okay, so I get it. You got no O.J. Howard, and Gronkowski is likely out the door as well. Why would you cut Cameron Brate? And it's simple. He is making too much money for what he is, and I get it. He's over $7 million on a cap hit. If you released him today, you get 6.8 relief, basically with no dead, $485K on the dead funds. So for me, I don't hate releasing Brate with a potential of re-signing him. I don't want to see a restructure here for him really at all, but without a tight end, you got to think he's going to remain on this roster. But if they want to sign other defensive players or offensive linemen, Brate is one to look at, and you go and get a younger tight end either in the draft or in free agency, or you re-sign O.J. Howard at a discount while saving funds on Cameron Brate, and it's a win-win altogether, man. Vita Vea, he did get a new deal, 4 years, $71 million, so that did give some cap relief on this year's cap hit for Vita Vea, where he is at about $11 million. The big dollars getting eaten up right now by this Buccaneers is Barrett, man, almost $20 million bucks. Left tackle Donovan Smith, 18.4. Levante David's making a boatload, man, at 14.7. Like I said, Vita Vea and his new deal, and then Devin White at $9.52 million. He is definitely going to get a new contract as well, so there's going to be money freed up eventually. It just depends on how they're going to restructure and who they're going to extend to drop all of these cap hits. Potential savings, depending on cap releases and restructures, is about $25 to $35 million as we sit today. As soon as they get Tommy's money off the books as well, you're going to see that number increase. Also, when it comes to the NFL draft, there is just your standard set of picks. 1 through 7, no 6, double 7. That's where you're at for Tampa Bay. They do got the comp 7 pick right now, and your team needs are all over the board. Running back, quarterback could be number 1, and likely should be number 1, even though they got a guy named Kyle Trask in the waiting, man. Edge, defensive back, O-line. You got a lot of things that are moving, and I mean, we've heard rumor already. This is the thing we got to discuss. Is Deshaun Watson in play here for Tampa Bay? We saw that he would definitely play for the Minnesota Vikings, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that would alleviate all of your issues at the quarterback position, barring his legal issues, okay? We got to say that. So a lot of teams are still going to be, on the skittish mark, because do you want to bring in a player who's still got legal issues open and up for determination, because we don't know what's going on. It's been dead quiet on the legal front for Deshaun Watson, but if Deshaun did come to Tampa Bay, that would absolutely lift this team back to another stratosphere. Maybe not Tommy touchdown stratosphere, but they would be a contender once again, no question. In the first round, they got pick 27, so for me, you got to round out this defensive back core again, or the edge presence. So you got to understand, if you lose all that front 7, all that defensive line, you got to replenish it. So for me, it's best player available at either DB or edge for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, like I said, if Deshaun comes, then you could see maybe picks and players traded, and that first round pick might not even be in play anymore. But for all your scouting services, everything for these rookies, go subscribe to Headliner U. Go do us that favor. We are growing that channel under the Headliner brand, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So for all the players we got as of today, so this is important for all you fantasy players out there. This is what the current team looks like. Quarterback, Kyle Trask. Running back, Keyshawn Vaughn. Mike Evans still around. You got Tyler Johnson. You got Jalen Darden. Scotty Miller's in the mix. Cameron Brate would round out your offense. That is not a top commodity offensive system for any fantasy player whatsoever. A lot of people are down on Kyle Trask. I'm still on the fence, okay? I'm not saying he's going to be great, but I do want to see what he can do. He's got more than enough understanding of games where he can actually drop the ball with accuracy. His arm talent isn't elite, but he is definitely an accurate and touch passer. He is more of the pocket guy. He will not get you outside the pocket. So much you got like from Tom Brady as a statuesque back there, you're going to get the same type of deal when it comes from Kyle Trask. He will not take off. But I do believe he can make all the throws. His footwork needs a lot of work, and he will be inaccurate at times because of that. But I still want to give him a chance, especially with Bruce Arians, to see what he can do. I don't hate Kyle Trask whatsoever. A lot of people are down on him, but I still like him. When it comes to Tyler Johnson, I'm a huge supporter, and I'm gonna die on this hill. I don't even care anymore. Okay, I've been in such support of his services that if he doesn't do anything, that's fine. Okay, I went out on a limb and I said he was like a Juju Smith-Schuster. His drops have been the problem. His route tree is phenomenal. This guy can break free and find separation. So if he understands how to fix those hands and how to get open in situations, you're gonna see Tyler Johnson be successful. Scotty Miller obviously is that guy. We've seen him from time to time. Maybe he gets a bigger role, but we'll see. As for the defense, you still got players to like on this team. I mean, Vita Vea is going to be your guy along with this stacked linebacker core in White, David, and Barnett. These are going to be your main plug-in pieces along with Antoine Winfield on the back end as a safety. When it comes to your defensive backs, I mean, Murphy Bunting, Jamal Dean, and Mike Edwards, you could do a lot worse, but I mean, you could definitely upgrade and do a lot better. But I mean, overall, if this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team does not get the quarterback position sorted out, you will likely see them falter in a lot of contests. But I'm not willing to give up on Kyle Trask just yet, but your fantasy team will likely take a hit. So if you got shares of Mike Evans, especially in Dynasty, you might want to sell his services right now on the high. So there you have it. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tom Brady lists. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got some headaches. As you can see, man, this team is going to look very different in 2022. So when you're looking at your fantasy drafts, unless the quarterback situation gets rectified and a Deshaun Watson comes or they find some other patch-made solution, then we'll discuss what the value is going to be. But I mean, guys like Jalen Darden, Tyler Johnson, they have all the ability right now to make their net worth be known. So we'll see how this all goes down and shakes out this offseason for Tampa Bay. But nevertheless, that's all I got. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. I am out.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headline